Hello, 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 TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. Now, I have a deck here for you that I think is absolutely insane. So, I started playing some games with this. I was trying to put together a little control deck, and this is what I came up with, right? So, I was going to play a few games, record some footage for y'all, and ended up playing 20 games, winning 17 of them. So, that is just absolutely insane. This deck has so many different ways you can win. You can control the game, and I'm going to talk through the deck with you, and we'll even look at a couple of games here. But first off, let's look at the cards we've got. Sunspot and Nebula, two of the best one-drops in the game by far. They probably are the two best, honestly. Nebula has been insane since she's showing up. Sunspot has always been the top. Maybe his spot here is being taken, but regardless, the two best one-drops, and they're huge, right? Two drops, we've got Daredevil and Armor. We've got some protection potentially for our one drops, and then Daredevil is going to give us some insight into what our opponent is doing on 5, and that is going to be huge for us. Our three drops are Green Goblin and Storm. So whether you're trying to mess up their side of the board, or maybe it's an obvious Galactus play, so you're just going to go ahead and put that Green Goblin over there, you've got that option. Or if you can get, a Sunspot or a Nebula down on 1 and then followed up with an Armor on 2, you can storm that lane on 3 and feel really good going into the final 3 turns. We've also got Juggernaut as well. Storm Juggernaut can win you a lane on its own. It's insane, right? Our 4 drops are our answers, right? We've got Shang-Chi for some of those high-powered cards that we need to take out, and then Spider-Man as a soft lock. He's great on 4. He's equally as good on 5, depending on your turn 6 play. So I love these two 4 drops. They're probably my two favorite, utility answer 4 drops in the game. 5, we've got Professor X. We know how strong he is, especially with Daredevil. He's winning you a lane. And then 6, we've got two options here. You've got either your big power dump with Destroyer, or if you need to reach a lane that has maybe been stormed off, you've got Dr. Doom. And I love the fact that you have options at pretty much every energy level in this game. So 1, Sunspot or Nebula. 2, Daredevil or Armor. 3, Green Goblin or Storm. It seems like you've got so many options here, and even if you're behind, it feels like you're never really out of the game as long as you play it the right way. So, a couple ideal play lines, right? Nebula on 1, Armor on 2, Storm on 3, all on the same lane. That feels really, really strong. A lot of the times, if I get that off, I will Spider-Man a separate lane if I've got Professor X in my hand. If I don't have Professor X, maybe I'm following it up with a Green Goblin in that same lane as well. You're trying to win a lane early by 3 if possible. That always is, but 5 you can pretty much guarantee one. Additionally, you could go Nebula, Daredevil, Green Goblin, and that still feels really, really strong as well. Of course, you'll split those up, and then you can Spider-Man into Professor X. It's just, there are so many different ways to win. You've got huge power if you need to take just a single lane. If you need to spread out some power, you've got Dr. Doom. This deck just feels really, really good right now. And, I'll walk you through these games here coming up in a moment. I think this one's almost over, but you could see, we had Destroyer ready to go on reveal. This deck is crazy, but I'll walk you through these next couple games here. First up, look at our hand. So nothing too great so far. We've got a really, really heavy hand. Our first playable card is actually 3 energy. So right now, we're in a little bit of trouble, but we do have a very solid Green Goblin Spider-Man into Professor X line if that's what we want to do. So we're kind of thinking out what our best potential plays are here. That might have to be the way we go. It depends on what we draw as well. Luckily, we hit Nebula, so we've got a nice, easy play. We don't like the other 2 locations, so we're going to go ahead and slam her on that far right and get ready for turn 3. So we get a Nebula down, they get Zabu. Now, in this instance, because we've got Nebula down and we know that they're probably going to play on her lane, it makes sense for us to try and fill that lane for them as well. So Green Goblin has some great synergy with Nebula in filling the lane that, she's played on, limiting the amount of cards your opponent can play there. And that's exactly what they did, right? They came right back with a rock slide, but now they've only got one spot left, and all of a sudden it feels like we've probably got that lane. We've got Daredevil. We're just going to toss him into that lane right now. We do have Spider-Man if we wanted to go that route, but Daredevil is going to tell us, one, where we can play on 5. Granted, we see that the Dream Dimension is going to, cards are going to cost 1 more. So we can feel free knowing that, we've got Spider-Man ready. We get to see what they're doing. They're probably playing on the Dream Dimension since that's where they played their Spider-Man. But Daredevil's going to tell us anyway, so it's not like we've got to risk anything crazy here. So we're just waiting for them, knowing that Spider-Man is going to be the play here. We do get a little bit lucky. They play it over there like we thought. But we're going to lock them not out of Necrosia. We're going to get the +2 on Nebula. We can feel free to go ahead and snap, knowing we have Doctor Doom waiting in the wings to come down on 6. We'll be able to hit Necrosia and Wakanda. So even if they have Doctor Doom, they won't be able to take Necrosia from us, and we are going to take Wakanda from them. So it's just, it's really nice because you do have these options. You can kind of play it depending on what you're seeing as well, what you have coming down. There are nice little synergies. Sunspot into armor can potentially win you a lane on its own. Storm into Juggernaut, another nice little combo that can win you a lane. Spider-Man into Professor X, another little combo that can win you a game. It just seems like there are options in this deck everywhere you look. And you see we get a big 8-cube win right there. Moving into this next one, we've got a little bit better hand here. We do have Daredevil, and we did pick up Nebula, so that's like perfect. We'll get Nebula down. They get a Nebula down. So the way I've been approaching, like opposing Nebulas, I've been trying to play on them if I can. And if I can get a Green Goblin onto that lane, then that's what I'm trying to do. In this instance, we got Daredevil to start, so that feels really good. Both of our Nebulas are held in check to start. Then you can see we've got Green Goblin ready to go. I'm going to slam that right on their Nebula, and all of a sudden we have a nice little lead here. Turn 4 comes around. We've got Spider-Man ready to go. And we're just going to continue to hammer this Nebula, not really give her a chance to do anything, knowing that we already have our turn 6 play ready to go. We've got Destroyer waiting for us. So we can feel free to Professor X, knowing that our turn 6 play is just a simple Destroyer. And, they've got to hope that they'll have more power than we will. 15 power is going to be tough, and Daredevil tells us that they're putting their stature over into the raft. They're not getting a free 6-drop. So we don't have to worry about 2 cards coming out. And now we just have, freedom to kind of toss our Destroyer down. Do we play it on Oscorp or do we play it on the raft? We think about it for a hot sec, and then we do decide to just play it on the raft. They send everything to the Oscorp, hoping that it would be enough. Spider-Man and Enchantress definitely wouldn't have been, but we end up taking it either way. So Destroyer, he's one of your big power dumps. He's a big finisher. I think I finished probably at least half of these games with Destroyer. And then other times I had my opponents just retreating because they're locked out on turn 5 or Professor X comes down and, they don't have a real shot here. This one actually worked out really nicely. The Super Flow popped up. And turn 2, you can see we've got 3 energy. They've only got 2, so we can feel free to slam that Green Goblin and mess up their game plan. And that's essentially what this deck does. It takes whatever they're doing and tries to make it as difficult as possible for them to win, to make the plays that they want to make. For instance here, we've got Spider-Man again on 3. They're probably not going to play into the Hellfire Club, and if they do, it probably won't be very big because it's only 3 energy. So we can get Spider-Man down. It's a Zabu. Okay, that's fine. Not too much to worry about. We have Professor X, and we can go ahead and slam him and know that we've got the Hellfire Club already wrapped up. I'd love for a little bit bigger power differential. 2, theoretically they could still get there with something like a Khazar and a Blue Marvel. Doesn't look like that's the type of deck that they're playing, but they could do it. In this instance, though, we're trying to decide we want to keep the Superflow available to us, so we don't want to play anything there, and we don't want to play too early into Atlantis. So we're trying to make a conservative play, but at least a play that's going to get us some power down. In this instance, we decided to go with only our Sunspot. So Sunspot comes down. He's 10 power right now. If it's the only card there, it's, he's going to get buffed. But we know that they're probably going to come for that lane. So we're going to go ahead and beat them to it. They drop the Shang-Chi, which not going to help them out. And then our Destroyer comes back over the top. Again, another finish with Destroyer. Gets us another 2 cubes. This deck is just, it's really nice. It feels really, really strong. Like I said, I played 20 games, ended up winning 17 of them. And out of the 3 losses, only one loss was one that I didn't expect to lose. The other 2, it was like, okay, we probably lost this one and we got out, fairly cheaply. The third one, it wasn't so cheap, but, it was a pretty good deck, a pretty good game by them. So overall, I just love the way that these games are playing out. You can get Daredevil down. You can see we typically have something on 2, something on 3, something on 4, and it just feels really nice to roll into those lanes and keep getting these wins. So you can see here, it looks like we're probably playing a Darkhawk deck. So we're going to go ahead and try and stuff up a lane here. That's the game plan. Make it very, very difficult for them to do anything. We're trying to stay away from Lechukagia just because we don't want to add too many more cards to our hand. They do play Rock Slide, and now that we have locked them out of the first Mindscape, we've got a plan. We're ready to go. We can go ahead and go with Professor X. But, we get to see what they're doing first. So this is, it just gives us that, that assurance that what they've got going on is not going to be enough for what we have. So we can feel kind of free here going, we can just drop that Professor X and know that we are in a good spot. What I'm considering here is potentially playing Juggernaut on 6 in Lechukagia. The only thing I am afraid of is him playing 2 cards, something like a Mystique and a Sentinel, something like that, where he would be able to still get the power there and we wouldn't be able to compete. Mindscape is going to allow us a little peek into their hand, and we see that, kind of the best thing that they've got is a Dr. Doom, and we pick up our Destroyer, so we know we're kind of free to just slam that Destroyer down into Lechukagia and get another win here. And it's just, a lot of the games play out this way. It's just, a 2 into a 3 into a 4 into how do I win the game, and you just take it that way. He comes through with a White Queen and a Moon Girl, 10 power. It's pretty strong, but Destroyer is just bigger. Destroyer is just better, and he's coming over the top and taking these games for us. So I would just say if y'all have a shot, if you guys, have these cards, try and put it together, try it out. I have kind of tinkered with it a little bit. The one card that I'm kind of up for debate on whether we want to keep is Juggernaut, but I love the combination of Storm Juggernaut, which is why I've kind of stayed away from that. In this game, we decided to toss Sunspot into the negative zone, knowing that we have Storm in our hand. We're also going to try and keep his Nebula in check, and the fact that Ebony Maw came out as well, we kind of know that we can go after it a little bit. Here, Nebula, is going to grow for him. We know a card is coming into the X Mansion here in a minute. So we feel free to kind of storm the negative zone, knowing that, we've already got a Sunspot there. And if we need to, we can just skip a turn, maybe 2, and let Sunspot grow. You've got great synergy with that Sunspot and now the Collapsed Mine. Wave comes out, and I think that, I feel like this, maybe he was planning a Galactus play or something like that. You can't be sure. I saw Thanos come down, and I'm like, what the hell? But then I got Giganto, so it ended up okay. Picking up Juggernaut here was huge. It allowed me to play it into the flooding if I want. The other option was to just wait, but I ultimately decided that Professor X was going to be the way to go, knowing that I'd be skipping turn 5. to get the mines cleared. And the fact that he came with a Zola, that all it did was erase 3 power, was huge. That's exactly what we needed here. And again, Daredevil's showing us the way. So turn 5 comes around, and I get to take a peek at what they're doing. I know that Nebula's gained another +2, but that would only put them at 14. So we're already thinking we could play Destroyer into that far right lane if we want to, but it depends on what they're doing here. We go ahead and snap, knowing that we are in a really, really nice spot here. We're just waiting on them to make a play before we decide what we are going to do. It all depends on what they've got. And when they put down their arrow, we know that, well, we could probably just take the X-Mansion. We're giving up 2 power now, but we're going to protect our Giganto, and we're going to come over the top with Destroyer again. You know, our flooded lane is safe. We don't care about the mines. They can have it. We've only got to win 2. He doesn't have a 6-drop that's going to be more power than Destroyer. We just snap play him, put him down, and, you know, we're ready for that win. All that's left is for him to play his last card and kind of see his fate here. Which, if I remember correctly, I think he plays Black Panther here, which 8 power coming back. It didn't seem like a really, you know, a winning play from him, but we're not going to complain. We're going to take that dub and just continue on. And this deck feels great. So finally, if you guys have the cards and can put this together, I would, you know, urge you to give it a try. Like I said, out of 20 games, I went 17-3, and only one of them was a game that, you know, it looked like he you know, just had a better play line, or maybe he had the perfect draw, but 17 out of 20 is pretty dang good if you ask me. So give it a shot. I promise you won't be disappointed. If you've hung around this long, thank you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button, as it really does help me out. But until the next one, have some fun.